Good morning and welcome to BeeferLink TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today, Robert Windsor joins us to kick off a new series of episodes which focus on insurance. So Robert, can you give us a bit of an introduction onto what this series may cover?
Yes, it's going to be 6 parts. This is sort of like a scene-setting episode. And basically, we want to look at insurance, the 2 main insurance policies that members will have to have in place, or should certainly have in place. And basically, we want to look at the differences. We want to look at also things like claims handling, which is quite important. And also, as the industry changes, we are looking, one particular member has come to speak to us.
Sure.
And they'll be looking at digital platforms and how you can do insurance online.
Sure. So in terms of freight forwarder liability cover, do our STCs place a requirement on the Beefer members to take that out?
Yes, it's actually mandatory.
Right, I see.
In order to have Beefer membership. To be a Beefer member, you have to have a relevant freight forwarder liability policy in place. And this really does cover the items which are described in Clause 26A of our standard trading conditions. And they set limits of liability, circumstances of liability, and we'll talk about this maybe a bit later. Some of the advantages of having this cover in place is if you get, for instance, a general average shipment, which we had with the Ever Given when she got stuck in the Suez Canal, which was well documented.
Sure.
And how having that policy does actually help.
So in terms of our standard trading conditions, what clauses specifically refer to insurance?
Well, I think the main one is actually Clause 11, which actually states, and I'm going to read it verbatim, no insurance will be affected except pursuant to and in accordance with the clearly stated instructions given in writing by the customer and accepted in writing by the company. And that's, the main one. And I do actually emphasise one of the things we do have in the office quite a lot is a question, and it's actually the member's client will come to us and say, why didn't you insure? Why didn't your member insure? And we will always refer to that. And one of the things I would emphasise to any member, when you are actually engaging the Beefer standard trading conditions, and there's quite a long article in October's BeeferLink on this subject, always highlight, and it's actually in the first page of the guidance on the STCs, is quite clearly highlight those clauses which are important. And I would venture that Clause 11 is essential.
Sure. And now, are there any other clauses within the STCs that refer to insurance indirectly?
Not in what I would call a marine policy, which is where the member insures the client's goods, but there are references there, for instance, which would relate to the freight forwarder liability cover.
Sure.
For instance, there's clauses about limitations on what goods a member will take on, and that covers all the sorts of stuff you'd expect: high explosives, dangerous chemicals, livestock, bullion, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And those are outside the policy of a general nature. And so basically, if you are going to be handling that, you would have to consider speaking to your insurance broker in order to take out the relevant policy.
Sure. And then when we think about our members' clients, are Beefer members permitted to put in place insurance policies on their behalf?
They are now. And there has been some confusion about this ever since the EU Insurance Mediation Directive. And for a while, freight forwarders couldn't insure clients' goods, but that got repealed, or certainly it was made easier, because when the Insurance Mediation Directive came in, it meant that in order to sell any form of open marine cover, which is where the member insures goods. So open marine is a bit of a misnomer. It's
Right.
not just maritime.
Sure.
As the name implies, it covers all the modes of transport. And then basically under that directive of 2008, the member could only insure goods if they joined the Financial Services Authority, and that was very complex and onerous and just basically wasn't commercially viable. This has since been revoked in part, and members can now insure under an open marine cover those items which they are carrying on behalf of their clients. They couldn't insure something that they weren't carrying because that would then become general brokerage.
Sure.
But if they are actually carrying the goods, they can offer insurance.
Okay, interesting. And my final question for you, Robert, is do you think that insurance has any impact on the wider commercial relationship between the member and its customers?
I think it's a good thing to be able to offer this cover, open marine I'm talking about. It shows an interest in what the member is able to offer, and it is a wider aspect to that. I also see it as a part of risk management.
Sure.
You know, you've assessed the risk of a particular consignment. It's frightening to think that probably 80% of the freight in this, which is on the high seas or in the air at the moment, is just not insured. And too often that is because there's a certain ignorance amongst shippers and importers that they presume it's insured when actually our STCs basically say, you know, it's not insured as per Clause 11 unless it's specifically agreed. I mean, on a slightly wider thing, if you take nothing away from this six-part series, one, always make sure that you have a good working relationship with your insurance broker. And one of the other things we've noticed is that there doesn't seem to be a structure in certain BIFA organisations, you know, the members, for actually handling this. And I would recommend that anybody, particularly if they want to, you know, that they work with their broker and form some sort of policy on how it's handled and who is handling it. And actually, one of the things we did do, and it was published last year actually, we worked with insurers, many of whom are BIFA Associate members, and we actually looked at insurance and claims handling for BIFA members, brackets freight forwarders, guidance. This was actually sort of industry standard now, and we would recommend any member look at this. And basically, we look at the two types of claim in particular: a claim against BIFA members, freight forwarders, liability cover, and where it's under open marine.
Got you. Thank you.
That's fine.
What we'll do is we'll pop a link to that document in the video's description, and then our members can access that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Robert.
Okay, thanks.
As Robert mentions, the STCs and our good practice guides are available on our website. We'll pop the link in the description of the video. That's all for today's episode of BIFA Link TV, your daily dose of industry information.